selfie. Hello, awakened women or crowned women. Sweetie, I'm trying that accent. I'm joking. I'm just trying to calm my nerves, guys. Right? By the way, I'm still old school. Now I brought, and I still print. This thing on my device, I feel like it won't send the message. So I still print, and I don't know how I'm going to do this. I think I'm just going to stand here the whole time unless the Holy Spirit forces me to, then I will. But anyway, hello everybody. How are you? Good. You're looking so beautiful. Yeah. So guys, my name is Millicent Wagamosowo. Professionally, I'm an IT business analyst, which involves a lot of execution actually. It is amazing that I just discovered that my professional career actually links with what I do, what I was born to do, my work on earth, right? It's just that the difference is my purpose is to help you execute that vision that God laid in your heart. But in corporate, I'm helping corporate execute their projects. System solutions to be specific, right? So yeah, that's what I do, and I'm so happy to be here, and I just want to express my thanks to Noni for trusting me with this platform. Trust me, I walked in here and I looked at everyone who's here. I'm like, what am I gonna say to these people, because they look like they're But I believe that there is, God always has a way for us. And I'm sure one or two or three people will come out of this room, with some things that they've always wanted to hear in order for them to help them, to unstuck themselves, right? I want to talk to women who are ready to be awakened. So usually when I'm invited to speak, I don't just go anywhere. We'll get into that and you'll realize why you shouldn't also just go anywhere. You are not meant to be everything to everybody, I always want to study the vision of the organization, the intention, and what drives it. And when I was reading about the crown women, I confused it with the theme of the event, which is awakening. So it's crown women. Oh, okay. So. And I've learned that their vision is to awaken women to their purpose. And it makes sense to the message that God has given me, because you could be a speaker, but you have a message. You can't master everything. You cannot say you are, like when you need to talk about children and what affects children, I'm there. When they say you're talking about purpose, you are there. No, you have a message, right? I'll give an example with Kathy. I know she is, maybe you might not know, but people who listen to you will always confirm it. I know every time I remember saying to myself, I know she is a speaker about identity. If you need anything, so that's how it works. So that's how I got to say yes to you, because I saw that what they stand for and what they're trying to do is actually in line with what I am doing. So it's a yes. I'm so honored. I do not take it for granted, because for me this is an opportunity for me to keep refining my gift. Okay? So my topic for today is purpose living a purpose-driven life. We'll get into the execution part of things, but I usually just make it clear that we do not just wake up and execute. We don't have time like the way we think we do. You need to understand that you do not just set goals for the sake of setting them. You need to understand that firstly, where do you come from? What are you here for? And what are you supposed to do? And start setting goals and executing from there. Ultimately, you're living and functioning in your purpose, right? Maybe you keep asking yourself, how do I even start? Sure, this moved me. I'll keep sharing a little bit of my stories, in between, because I'm talking about something that works in me, continues to work, that worked in me and continues to work in me, right? And my answer is very simple. It all starts with God. Yeah. And why? Because he formed you. I'm going to share Colossians 1 verse 16, which says, "For by him all things were created, in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions, or rulers or authorities. All things were created through him and for him." So meaning you were formed for his purpose. You cannot afford to live your life outside of why he decided that you should be formed. You get what I mean? So to know your purpose, you must start with God. So a lot of times we get it wrong. I got it wrong before. I wanted to start with some self-centered knowledge that I used to gather for myself, By the way, I only discovered my purpose when I was 28 years old. So meaning all these other years, by the way, I'm 40. So all these other years, I was just joking. I'm joking. I was just like wasting my time on things that are not even feeding into who God has called me to be, right? And some of the questions are good, but the problem is the starting point. You don't start by asking yourself these questions. Like, what should I do with my life? You don't start there. What are my goals? You don't start there. What are my ambitions? No, you don't start there. What are my dreams for my future? You don't start there. You start with God. You start with cultivating a relationship with God. Because he says he formed you, then he will reveal it to you. Miles Monroe gave an example with, he says, if you want to know a purpose of a thing, do not ask a thing. You don't know. Ask the manufacturer of the thing. If you want to know how the iron must function, where to press for it to give you what results, you read through the manual that was prepared by who? The manufacturer of an iron. So it is the same way how God has created us as well, right? So you can never find your purpose if your focus is self-centered. But I've got the good news, and the good news is God does. It's a matter of you making a decision to start with him, to fix your starting point, so that you can ultimately discover your purpose. Okay? So I'm gonna touch on things that used to hinder me, from functioning in my purpose. And some of the things were, I would say, okay, if God formed me and God had me in mind, but he formed me in my mother's womb, but my mother did not plan me, because I'm a product of a teenage pregnancy, and I was born out of wedlock. I'm probably an accident. And maybe there are some people who are thinking the same, maybe because of the background or how you were conceived, But I'm here to tell you, God whispered to me one day, and these are one of the, moments that really made me who I am today. I always tell my friends that I meet now, the Millicent before this one, Lena Luana, a very restored Millicent, guys. I think about her and I look back and I'm like, what? And thank God I have different folders that I named according to the years. Like I have a folder here, 2011, 2010, 20. And each and every single picture in that folder tells a story. Up to, I don't know why I was doing that really. Every time I took pictures with my phone, I'd go back and put them in my laptop. Now it makes sense that I look back and I'm like, now I have context when I tell people about how important it is to start with God so you can be awakened to your purpose, right? So during those years, I was convinced that I'm a mistake. Looking at even how I got to be raised, guys, the reality of like being born out of wedlock. You are all over the place. Needing your mom get married, you are now joining this family. Needing you feel like you don't belong, you now want to go to your granny's. Needing your granny's boring, your aunt from who has made it in life says, hey, come stay with us. You are now there. Because you are just all over the place. You end up thinking, my life doesn't even have a me. I don't have a belonging. Like I don't have a place where I can go and say I'm with my mom and my dad, like under one roof. Those are the things that used to make me think, I'm a mistake. But God said to me, I read Isaiah 44 verse 2 where he says, I am your creator. Amen. You were in my care before you were even born. Yes. So this means God planned your birth. It does not matter how it came about. And God planned your existence. And he said to me, I conceived you in my mind before your mother conceived you in the womb. And that's the message that I want to tell you today, that you are not a mistake. So if you want to go back with this knowledge and revelation. Go to God with boldness, because now you know he conceived you. Right? So you see how important it is to know these things before you rush to set goals. Now you see why you set goals in Jan come March, you don't even know where you end. You don't even know what's going on with, because there's just so much that you haven't allowed God to deal with. Right? And I remember God saying to me, I was not surprised by your birth. Like when your mom gave birth to you, I was not surprised by that, because I conceived you in my mind. So it is not by fate or chance that you were born, right? And this includes your natural talents and gifts, your vision, your passions that God laid in you. They were not by chance, right? God planned every detail of your life, where you were going to be born, your hair, your color, your body, everything. I know it's hard for some of us to accept the way we look sometimes, but God was intentional about it. And remember what I shared earlier on. I said he says he did all those for his purpose. It's a matter of discovering it and be awakened to it and begin to function in it. Then you will be completely restored, right? So I want to ask this question, but before I do that, I like to shake up things in the room. So I'm going to ask you, with all the things that I've shared so far, do you believe it?
Yes.
Do you get it?
Yes.
Is it helping?
Yes.
Now say this after me. I am who I am for a reason.
I am who I am for a reason.
I am precious.
I am precious.
I am perfect, unique design.
I am perfect, unique design.
And I am God's special woman.
I am God's special woman.
I look the way I look for a reason.
I look the way I look for a reason.
God made no mistake.
God made no mistake.
I am exactly what God wanted me to be.
I am exactly what God wanted me to be.
And I have been formed by the Master's rod.
And I have been formed by the Master's rod.
I am a woman of purpose.
I am a woman of purpose.
I'm going to leave you with this. Next one. Be honest to yourself. Go home, sit down and ask yourself this question. What are areas of my life that I'm struggling to accept? Right? Maybe in your personality, in the way you look physically, or even how you relate with others, just your uniqueness. Right? So for me, in terms of my background, there was a time, guys, I used to lie about where I come from. I come from Vilejakaloboda, right? And I used to, when people ask me, especially I think at varsity, I used to say, nah, I come from where my aunt comes from. Because I was ashamed. But it was until God worked in me, because I understood the starting point. Remember, that's the main solution here. And when I went back to him, and this, like, not so long ago, guys, and that's when I started to be proud of where I come from. I remember this one time I vlogged at home, and my siblings were at home in December. We went home with Hadi. And I was vlogging the shack that we grew up living in. Guys, this is the shack. I was so proud of it. This is how we grew. By the way, I don't know where my mom is keeping it. But now God moved us here. God moved us, blah, 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 blah. My younger brother called me and said, oh, no. You're embarrassing us. But for me, I was so proud. That's the thing. You begin to be so proud of where you come from, because you understand that God was intentional about that.
Yes.
Yeah. All that you go through, they don't kill us. But really, for you to fully function in your purpose, these are the things that you need to deal with. right? So now I'm going to talk about being purpose-driven. And I want you to answer this question. Oh my goodness, no wonder my workbook also asks questions. I think at some point it's important to sit down and be honest with yourself before you can even begin to deal with anything or allow God to deal with things in your life, right? What drives you? What drives you? And the word purpose, like I would try to define the word driven, right? What it means is to be guided, to be controlled, to be directed. I'll give an example of when I came here, I drove my car and I directed it to come here, which means I was the driving force behind that steering wheel. And that's the question I'm asking you, and write it down so you can go back home and say, what am I driven by? Right? Because you can just wake up tomorrow and say, I'm purpose-driven, what. But your decisions, your associations, the books you read, the things you do, they don't align with what God has created you to be, right? So that's when you go back and say, let's be honest, what actually drives me? So I'm gonna share a few examples of forces that, well, I've been driven by one or more. From this, and then there was some time I was driven by guilt, and I know many of you can relate to this one, right? So how do you know that you are guilt driven? When you allow your not so good memories or bad decisions that you made in the past to manipulate you and control your future. Like every time you have to do something, you feel bad about things you've done before. That is when you know that I am we all have a past. No one can come here and say, nah, you have a past. Yes, you might not be ready to share it. That's okay. You don't have to. But you don't have to be present by your past, right? Because right now, I hear God saying, my purpose for you is not limited by your past. And those are the words that you hold on and say, okay, then it's worth letting go. I don't need to imprison myself in my wrong choices or past decisions that I've made, okay? And also, just referencing to the Bible, we see how God transformed murderers like Moses into leaders, cowards like Gideon into courageous leaders, right? So God wants to do it with us, but think about the starting point. Where are you starting, right? And another example of a force that drives people today is anger. When you hold on to hurts, like what Usibu was saying, and never get over them, instead of releasing those hurts through forgiveness, you keep rehearsing and rehearsing. I've been there, trust me. I have been there. Actually, I was having a conversation with Habi during the week. Like something happened that reminded me of a terrible experience that I have, like in terms of some of the treatments that we received as a family, like me and my siblings. So then I was telling him, babe, there was this one time, this and this and this and this happened. I remember on our wedding, that one was very, that one, she did this and this and this to us and this. And then Habi was like, wait a minute, but you are taking their kids to school today. Sure. You're paying for their, no, you're too born again. He was just making a joke about it. But I thought about it, then I'm like, that's where God wants you to be. You release the past pain through forgiveness. Because also it's a principle, it's actually a command. Right? So if everything you do is driven by pain or is driven by anger, make a decision to let it go, because women, you need to be purpose-driven, but you need to let go of this. But you don't need to wait until it's completely gone to say, but I'm saying to be fully happy and restored and full of joy and, be purpose-driven, right? We'll get to that one. And also, the other one is fear-driven. How do you know you're driven by fear? I understand that fear sometimes can be a result of terrible experiences, mostly traumatic experiences, right? But you don't have to prison yourself. You don't have to keep it cool, right? I think I'm still working on this one myself. I like to I'll do the most amazing thing, and then I'll say, don't say it's me. I know sometimes it's okay, it's not necessary to say so, but I like to say, just let them thank God for whatever they got, right? But there are instances where you miss out on divine opportunities because you're trying to keep it cool. You cannot take up spaces where God has trusted you because you want to keep it cool. But when you want to be honest with yourself, you are fear-driven. It's not coming from a good place. It's not coming from a humbleness, it's coming from fear, right? And you need to let it go, right? Fear is self-imposed prison that can keep you from living out your purpose and becoming what God has intended you to be, right? And how do you overcome fear? By applying the weapon of faith. Fear is the opposite of faith. So if you want to overcome fear, immerse yourself in the Word. Because that is how you're going to grow your faith, right? Is it good?
Yes.
Healthy? And the second last one is materialism driven. Don't get me wrong, Bongi, because I know you're gonna talk about wealth. I'm not talking. I know it's important to make decisions that will help you like leave a legacy in terms of wealth and but I'm talking about when your desire to acquire things, it's all you think about. No solving problems, no impacting lives, nothing. All you think about is just to acquire this. 5 years down the line, you want this one. And the thing is, it's coming from the misconception that the more you get, the more you will be happy. And that's not how it works with God. Because His word says, seek ye first the kingdom. And all these other things will be added to you. It means things are supposed to be added to us. We are not supposed to pursue things. Lest you end up doing whatever it takes to acquire these things. Even if it means removing people who are standing in your way. Even if it means slipping your way up only to just traumatize yourself, you end up doing these things. And one thing that I noticed, like with people who are driven by the material things, is that you were driven by this thing, you got it, but you still don't have the peace and the freedom, right? 5 years down the line, it doesn't matter, it's outdated. So when you keep wanting and wanting, and if you are going to start with God and begin to work with God, you're going to realize that these things don't matter. I'm at a point in my life where whether I have or I don't have, God is the source. My needs will always be covered. And that's what matters. And God wants you there so that He can bring them. Because now He knows you are not going to idolize them. Right? So if you are driven by that, it's a homework that you need to do. Right? And the thing about God is that it excites Him when we go back to Him and be honest to say, God, I'm so driven by things. I'm so driven by things that I'm even losing relationships, divine relationships that you brought in my life because I feel like they've got nothing to add. Or I can't be seen with so and so. I want to be seen with those who are driving. Those are the signs that you will miss out on your purpose, because God could bring someone who doesn't even have the Mercedes or the biggest car, the biggest house in your life to serve your purpose. The thing is, when God had you in mind, there was already a problem that you're supposed to solve. And there are people that you're supposed to do life with. And if you look down on them because you are driven by the material, then you miss out your purpose, because only them can help you fulfill your purpose. So, guys, positions only provide temporary happiness. My pastor always say, if it won't matter 10 years down the line, then it's not worth obsessing about or obsessing over. What's the right English? Whatever. I shared a message on my Instagram page to say nothing can be compared to knowing God's purpose for your life, and nothing can compensate for functioning in God's purpose for your life. Guys, it makes your life easier. I'm going to share the benefits of leading a purpose-driven life, it simplifies your life. And the last force that I've studied is driven by need for approval. Man, I've been there. There was a time, there's this uncle, this rich uncle that I love. If he doesn't comment on anything I say, guy crash, you feel like, oh. And some of you, sometimes you have unprincipled parents. No matter what you do, they're just not pleased with what you do. Or friends, or whatever. But if you want to fulfill God's purpose for your life, Jesus will always say, God is my audience. Isn't that what you say? Amen. Yeah, she wants to. Somebody be careful with her way. Otherwise, you don't push up. I'm joking, she's not like that. But if you really want to fulfill God's purpose and live this awesome life of just being purpose-driven, you need to do away with other people's opinions. They have very limited information about you. Whatever they say is so limited because they did not form you. It is God who has formed you. And don't get me wrong, this is not to say don't accept counsel of others, because God will send certain people. But when you started with Him, you will know who is supposed to speak to me and who is not supposed to speak to me. I've got those people in my life who make a phone call to me and say, friend, I feel like now you're moving with excitement. Please. I'm not going to mention her name. She's very a great place. You know her, guys. She will call me and say, I don't know why, but I feel like you are now moving with excitement. Take it down. And even the way it comes, it feels as though God is speaking through Himself. And then there are those that I just want. You know, I don't listen to anyone who's not doing anything. Because if you're not even impacting life, not even passionate about, like there is nothing, you can't speak to me. Because it's just going to not help you. You've never started anything, your job is just to criticize it. Studying the wrongs, but what are you doing? What are you building? So this point is to say, don't be driven by the opinion of others, but be driven by what God said to you, right? So now quickly, before I go into the execution part of things, now that we've empowered with all these knowledges, we know these questions that I've shared with you to go back and confront yourself with, I want to really encourage you to make a decision today to lead a purpose-driven life. Because that's just what life is about for you. It's about doing what you're supposed to do. I'll give an example with a cell phone, right? If the purpose of my cell phone was for communication, although I can still take pictures, I can still write notes, I can look, when I want to know what time it is, I can actually use my phone. But the main purpose is for communication. If my phone can't help me communicate with the next person, it has failed. So this means you might achieve all the goals, your ambitions or whatever and everything, but still miss your purpose, right? There is one purpose. You can have multiple gifts, that's nice, that's fine. We appreciate the other functions that you are able to do on the phone. They really help. But I need to be able to make a call. That's why I bought the phone. I need to be able to communicate. I can buy a watch, I can buy a camera if I want to, but if my phone gives me that, that's fine. Don't miss your purpose, right? Really, I recommend a purpose-driven life. And really, I recommend setting goals that are motivated by purpose, guys. You don't just start things because you saw someone starting it. You don't just set goals because you saw it's fashionable to do so. Can you not, yes, do the nice things that people are benefiting from and we enjoy, or things that brings you a following, but the thing is, you are not here for that. So that's nice if it's helping, but don't miss that should be your priority, right? So I'm going to share benefits of purpose-driven life that honestly I've been enjoying. I'm not even going to try to play it cool. I've been through enough fire for me to play it cool. I'm going to tell you that I am enjoying these benefits so that you can also get to enjoy them, right? And number one, it gives meaning to your life. I've already mentioned that one. And number 2, it simplifies your life. You know what to do. You know what to not do. You know what books to read. You know what books to not read. You don't just get hyped because something is hyped, right? You know the content to consume. You know the one that makes you uncomfortable. You know conversations to be part of. You know relationships that you need to establish and embrace and cultivate, right? And on that, sometimes God brings, the thing is, here's the thing about purpose, is that you will never work as an island. You need people. But they have to be in line with what God is doing in your life. So your choices must be right? But sometimes God brings people in our life, but we abuse them, right? I was having the conversation with my videographer on our way here. And I was like, sometimes I have people in my life with the work that I do because I know for sure that I was born to speak and this message, right? And there are people who come to my life to say, maybe let's build, let's cover your work. I'll bring the cameras, I'll do this, let's do this, because we all understand the vision. They grab my vision and they understand it, and they're like, no man, don't worry, let's work. Resources will come later. Ne? But I shouldn't abuse that. You need to take care of those relationships. Ask God for wisdom. Don't break people. Don't go around breaking everyone that God brings into your life. Or take advantage and want to act like an opportunist. Don't do that. Because you're going to lose them. And remember, only them were meant to walk this journey with you. If you lose them, there is no other. Those other ones will be temporary. They'll sound like they are for you. But the thing is, and I'm coming to the support, is that people eventually get tired. But if you are meant to help me, you will help me even if you think you don't like me. Because you were meant to. It will just happen. Right? Purpose becomes a standard that you use. Purpose becomes a standard that you use to evaluate which activities am I supposed to do, which activities are important to me, which are not essential. So without a purpose, you have no foundation on which you base your decisions. And that includes your goal setting, that includes your daily activities. If it's a wellness journey that you want to embark on, you understand that for me to fully function in my purpose, I need to be well. I need to take care of my body. Because when you sick, you cannot work. You cannot do your work on earth. So those are the decisions. You say you are motivated by your purpose. You are driven by it. Oh, okay. I still need to impact the world. And with the way I'm consuming this, it's not going to help. Those are the little decisions on a daily basis that are actually just inspired by your purpose. I'm about to close, but I will go into goal setting. I created this baby called My Goal Execution Guide. It's a workbook, and really the message, if you open it, it will tell you, welcome to purpose-driven life and strategic planning. So meaning it motivates you, there's a little bit of a message, to lay down a vision that is truly authentic and original vision from God. And it helps you execute your goals effectively. When you lay down your vision, from your vision, you break down your goals. You don't have time to do things that are not within God's will for you. Because anyway, you don't have the grace to succeed in them. You're going to fail. Fail is guaranteed, right? And on a daily basis, it's going to allow you to put monthly activities that you need to complete. By the way, I completed my journey. You're going to list down those tasks, those activities, and from these monthly activities, for example, if I want to launch a new website, there are so many tasks that goes into launching a website, like writing the actual content, getting someone to review, designing a logo, deciding on the theme, blah, 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 blah. Those are the daily tasks that you break down, which you can put to. Be patient with yourself, but I always say it is a muscle that you exercise every day. The more you do this, the more you become better. Before you know it, you're tackling 2 activities in 1 week. Before you know it, your goals are living. So if you want this workbook, you can just let me know. I unfortunately don't have stock, but we're gonna have it next week. And because you came to this event, you won't pay for delivery. If you want to buy it, let me know or let Noni know, and then we'll arrange for you, and then I'll deliver it to you free, right? So thank you so much for having me, guys.